into the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
All right, clerk, could you please take the roll? Councilmember Murray? Aye.
Present.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Kavanaugh. Here. Hodgkin. Councilmember Matavetsky.
Present.
Councilmember Duffy is absent. Council Majority Leader Rathmel present. Thank you. Okay, we will start by approving the minutes from our last business meeting on January 14th. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Right, minutes carried. Thank you. We do not have any appointments this evening. Are there any reports from committees?
I was gonna say, we don't have any appointments, but I think we're still considering applicants for a few more commissions, so it'd be good to plug that. We're still finalizing the last seat, I believe, for the Environmental Commission. At least 2 applicants for that. I think there's more people. Before a decision is made, this would be the window to get a resume into the clerk's office for council's consideration.
Reports from committees that have happened since our last business meeting on the 14th. I know we had a finance committee on the 17th.
Consider the finance committee, block grants, funds that we just discussed, work session will be discussed at our next business meeting and the public hearing, so stay tuned for all that stuff. There's also ACBG BLC meeting last week, which and discussion of management for the Binghamton Plaza and ongoing refurbishment at Boston as the primary topics of discussion. So that's and the yearly audit financials also.
Any other reports from committee?
I had a conflict, so I was unable to go to the Commission for the Conservation of the Environment last meeting on the 15th, but there's a video available. If you go to reports and commissions, you find the Commission for the Conservation of the Environment, or just Google Binghamton Environmental Commission. Usually good enough to pop it up and sort of all pass and you're doing it.
Any final committee reports? We will move on to, we have no public hearings tonight, but we do have one public hearing to set for our next business meeting. So the city will hold a public hearing regarding RL 2646. It was just discussed in our work session prior to this meeting, if folks are interested in the video, but it's an ordinance to adopt the 2026 bond ordinance. That hearing will take place at 6 p.m. during the February 11th regularly scheduled City Council business meeting. Residents wishing to participate in the public hearing may do so electronically. If you can't come on site here in council chambers, you can email comments prior to 1 o'clock that afternoon, the day of the meeting, to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov, or of course share them during the meeting. Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. Do we have anyone present who would like to share public comment this evening? You may come down to the microphone. Just make sure that it is pressed on and green.
So I'm John from Binghamton. Any complaint against the police department that is looked at by the internal affairs. The report should be immediate, shouldn't have to fish around. So that's the comment on that. You know, signing a blank check for bonds, well, not a blank check, but a ways out in anticipation of grants, I think is a suicide mission. I think you're losing control. It's the equivalent of a senior citizen like me telling the caregiver, the checkbook's in the drawer. Credit cards are in the drawer. You're losing control. You know, you have to, and let's look at this. You know, a lot of plans, right? City has boilerplate plan, PowerPoint presentations, a lot of them. Where's the plan to get out of debt? And I say this because 5 or 6, believe it or not, 5 or 6 school districts in the United States have no debt. And 2 or 3 of them are in Illinois. So you hear a lot about Illinois being mismanaged. 5 or 6 municipalities, a lot of villages in New York are debt free or next debt free. Lauderdale by the seaport, no debt. Batavia School District in Illinois, they had, you know, they did issue out of this. They said, you know, we didn't get out of debt because it was something gratuitous. We got out of debt because we had a plan and we followed. So I don't know. You should have for the preservation of the institution, you should care, because on the county level, you know those tobacco bonds, remember those? That was when Jared's father was county executive, you know how long ago? 2049 is the new date, some 60 or 70 years from when Jared's father was county executive, but you know, give me a break. So you should have that. Now on the stadium refinance, that's a refinance. Does your contract with this team or Major League Baseball, whoever the contract, does it go out that far? Because if you extend this financing and have no team, what good does that do? They should align perfect. So that's what I've got to say. I'm gonna think of something else here. A lot of these housing projects, if you look at them, you know, the subsidized ones, they're back end loaded too. I'm not gonna mention a name, but there's a building with 30+ apartments. And there's a $9 million balloon payment coming in 5 years. But that's so, you know, so yeah, that's it. The city's carrying $9 million in debt service, $9 million already, you know, this is, it's not, I mean, Gucci is the guy that started this, buying for fax machines and all, you know, all kinds of stuff. You know, I mean, it's just absurd. And, you know, the more grants, but the problem with the grants is that one time it was only 5%, now they're 10, you run out of money before, you know, more grants you take. You run out of money. Now on the this police chief was here and this intelligence center. What's that? How does that dovetail with your disdain for ICE? I mean, is that intelligence center going to be used by ICE? And they just claim that, you know, they need this $95,000, whatever it is. Can they say, can the chief look you in the eye and say, that intelligence center, none of that information is going to us. You know? A minute? Okay. Did you see where Syracuse undid the block cameras? That's good news, isn't it? For people that don't want to be spied on. I suggest you do the same. And I've seen this chicanery go on just once. I would like to see a Department of City Government, the budget that they present, right to the end. There you go. You know, we did it. The police department is, well, a guy's gonna retire, he may retire, he may not retire, we're bringing somebody in, they never give you a name. You know, what the heck, this is just a club. You know, and let me tell you another thing about the college center, the guy that was running it, I guess he retired now, he's got his own private detective business, private, and the guys that were in the intelligence center are working for him on the side. What is this, you know? I guess that's enough of me.
Do we have any others present for public comment? Clerk, do we have any public comment to read into the record?
From V. Maureen Leza. Dear council members, my name is V. Maureen Leza. I would like Fairview Park to be renamed to Jeffrey T. Leza Park in his memory. Jeffrey was 17 years old when he was murdered on March 17, 2011 due to an arson. The person responsible has been sentenced to 20 years to life in the New York State Correctional Facility. I'm requesting that the council votes to rename the park to the Jeffrey T. Leza Park, not only because it is the custom of the city of Binghamton to rename parks after those murdered, along with the fact that Jeffrey and his siblings swam and played there as it was a place they could very often be found. Fairview Park is not named after anyone. It is named because it is a fair view of the area. I'm requesting the council follow suit as they have with their renaming of other parks when voting on this issue. I would appreciate you scheduling this on your next city council meeting and to let me know if anything further is required of me. I thank you in advance and appreciate your time and attention very much. Very truly yours, V. Maureen Leza.
Given that the residents request that we let them know if there's any additional putting response, be directing them to the request for legislation, like the opportunity to submit a request for legislation.
Sure. Or any council member can choose to take it up on their behalf, you know, there are lots of options for how to move forward with that. Or even internally inside the city hall, if that was the case.
Any other? All right, we will move on to first reading legislation. First on the agenda, we have introductory ordinance 2611 heard in finance. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
So, presented your work session, so, I'm not comfortable moving forward without some more information, so I'm just.
Motion to hold over.
Yeah.
Second.
Well, I was never actually on the agenda, because every guy's presented, so. It doesn't really exist.
I do think one of the things that we communicated, given the reschedule, is that anything that needs to be moved forward quickly, we would prioritize for follow-up questions, or committee. So.
Well, I'm saying it's not even properly on the agenda, because it's not actually trying to force it.
I think what probably makes sense is to refer it back to committee.
Yes. Right. Motion to refer this back to finance.
Aye.
Aye, and that's on me for reading it without getting into discussion.
So just to chime in. About this, is placement on the agenda.
Well,
My knowledge is the motion for expedition or non-motion for expedition, as expedition is not defined in our charter and code.
Yeah, but. The exhibition with. Exhibition costumes, essentially, you want voting, but people are over to signing out, so it's never been signed.
So then should we go back to a motion to hold over?
Both are reflected in the minutes.
I'll just sign out and I'll
They
be sure to.
accompany each other in the chat.
Like I said, I think what makes sense here, because it was sort of the condensed work session, non-expedition, city council. Refer back to committee since it's not addressed.
Okay, we have a motion made a second. We had all in favor on that one, so I think we can effectively consider refer back to committee. Okay, Next, we have introductory ordinance 2612 and ordinance to amend chapter 410 zoning. And I'll give it to Councilmember Hotchkiss, this is considered in planning.
Yeah, to start with, secret motion. There is amendments.
We'll introduce it, then we'll do the secret for it.
Alright, and we make a motion to adopt the introductory ordinance 26-12 and ordinance to amend chapter 410 zoning to address public health.
Okay, before we vote on that motion, I can introduce motions for seeker.
So the following secret motions are reference to legislation for us, introductory ordinance 26-12, ordinance to amend chapter 410 zoning to address public health. And make a motion to declare the city council as lead agency for their seeker.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion on the city council being the agent under seeker? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to identify the action as unlisted under seeker.
So I think this is actually type 1. Should be type 1. That's how the secret paperwork was filled out, is type 1.
So make a motion to identify the action as type 1. Action under seeker.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to identify the action as type 1 under seeker. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I make a motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. The proposed action will not conflict with any adopted land use plan or zoning regulation. The proposed action will not impair the character or quality of the existing community. The proposed action will not have an impact on the critical environmental area. The proposed action will not have an impact on traffic or infrastructure, energy use, or water and sewer infrastructure. The proposed action will not negatively impact important historic resources. The proposed action will not result in adverse impact to natural resources, erosion, and flooding, or human health.
We have a motion and a second.
So, jump to that, we'll just make sure everyone review the part 2 for the EM, which lists out the 18 factors to be considered. And then they're all proposed to mark no. As long as everyone's had a chance to review and agree with that.
There was one, yes. Which was the impact on historic and archaeological resources. But then within that section,
It's marked,
It's marked no.
they're all small and no impact.
yeah. Just to clarify.
Okay, based on that review. Can I get a second on Councilmember Hotchkiss's motion? A second, motion, a second, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay. Clerk, could you please call the roll to approve the speaker?
Can we get discussion?
If Councilmember Kavanaugh would like to represent the nation.
Oh, no on legislation, so no on seeker.
Right. My suggestion would be to vote on them, so for seeker, vote on whether or not you actually think there's environmental impacts. And then you can vote however you want on the actual underlying legislation.
Yes, I was an impact on built environment and neighborhood environments.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any legal concerns that you're bringing up related to that?
I mean, the only thing is, one council member felt that there's significant impacts or at least a couple of these. The decisions made based off what all the council decides. So, yeah, you have to look at each of those to decide whether or not, you think there's a significant impact. And obviously the next step in this process is if the board, you did feel there was a significant impact, we have to address those for the secret process.
Their facts of not having like the gas station, next to the gas station, having fumes and stuff, don't know, next to residential areas. I'm struggling to see the negative.
So I'm just giving my objection to wording still is here, even though I've discussed it multiple times, is that you still, a liquor store is defined as a convenience store, even though a liquor store can only sell liquor. And none of the other convenience store things, including vapes, which is supposed to be vapes and fat, which is supposed to be aggressive. But it automatically defines every liquor store as a convenience store, which would make a convenience store within 1,000 feet of any liquor store in the city of Binghamton not allowed. And I dare you to find a liquor store in the city of Binghamton that's not within 1,000 feet of a liquor store. And you're saying that shouldn't exist. You're making it illegal, the creation of a practically operated store for many years within 50 feet of a liquor store. And if you look at any liquor store, if you look at Robbie's, if you look at this kind of town, if you look at Oral Liquor, any liquor store in the city of Binghamton would violate any liquor convenience store in the city of any liquor store in the city of Binghamton is in violation of this law.
My understanding from conversations, and correct me if I recall incorrectly, that we had with the TO was that this wouldn't apply retroactively, so it's a measure moving forward.
But if you're
To
creating
restrict
what, a natural business district forming. This is not merely restricting that of housing future schools. This is restricting two businesses that frequently are in conjunction that are not overlapping at all. Again, the liquor store cannot sell the things we're trying to restrict. So there's no reason they should be considered a convenience store, and I'm very upset that my concerns about this have not been taken seriously. So,
Do you?
if those changes get made, I'm very open to this, but we are needlessly restricting. Again, very natural business districts that are literally everywhere there's business districts in the city of Binghamton. And all over the place, I would wager.
Do you intend to, I know we're still doing seeker, but do you intend a motion to hold it over so that those very specific concerns can be addressed?
It's
I know you brought them up,
already,
been ignored.
I'd like to hold over, I guess.
Okay, so do we go through seeker? And then,
Or can we just modify it? Make a motion to amend?
Well,
Can we just fix it?
probably down to if there's thought of wanting to change the legislation, my suggestion would be to hold over the legislation, hold over the seeker, so that if there's amendments made, you're voting on seeker in a final version of the zoning amendment. And addressing like notice issues or whether or not seeker was properly done because amending the legislation.
If we end up with a special meeting some point, I don't know if it's still like this, but there was a request for a moratorium. That we didn't vote on, we could put that pause back in or stuff.
We can get this done in a couple weeks, and just, I don't know. Where's the big change, but keep bringing up.
Councilmember Hutchins, I know you've been involved, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of pushing this back on you, but that was one of the pieces of the legislation that I didn't think needed to be there. But it's, and then it puts all the big back in the planning commission, the folks that if you were to put a liquor store or here, this would be there. Actually, we need to store within the house of Brady's that get approval through the planning commission, so it's kind of. Putting big lines to you, whether or not they're big. But yeah, if you go, I went on the parcel mapper, did the measurement tool, it's just like everything would be in violation everywhere. That's what
Is that a good way to legislate, like literally everything's in violation that we have, do we screw up the entire planning, the whole city all the time, like?
No, I don't think so. Right. No,
Passing the legislation doesn't mean that the zoning was screwed up previously. But you are changing how you're doing the planning and zoning going forward. Like obviously any existing uses wouldn't be affected by the legislation. Going forward, if you had a new use, then you have the having live requirements.
No, but again, I'm not finding, again, there's very specific things, but I don't find problem with wait, if the goal of legislation is to restrict tobacco sales, then it has to be a school. Involving liquor stores at all makes very little sense. I don't know why that change can be in there with buying liquor stores and convenience stores, it doesn't make sense, they literally can't sell the same things. So, that's mine. Apparently very striking position. So I'd like a much more the installation.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, all we need is a motion and a second to hold over. And I think, I'm not sure if we should state that that applies to also holding over the speaker. Or do we need a separate vote?
I think we consider it all together since city is required to pass it.
Okay, so introductory ordinance of 2612, an ordinance to amend chapter 410 zoning to address public health will be held over. Council member Kavanaugh, would you like to own following up with Mr. Martinez regarding addressing those?
Yes, he was out today.
Oh. Okay. All right, the next of introductory ordinance of 2613, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Binghamton, chapter 178, animals considered in municipal public affairs. Councilmember Matavetsky.
So I'd like to make a motion to, for introductory ordinance 026-13, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Binghamton, chapter 178, animals.
second.
The motion in the second, any discussion?
Yeah, so history on this is several months ago, resident county, previous resident of the city of Binghamton reached out to essentially LUMA Projection office, concerned about some dog issues she's seen in Southside Binghamton. And there's a big meeting called together, or a meeting society at Southside, the people in the county and the fire's office and some resident animal lovers who have seen problems. And I believe actually the fire's office got notified about our Syracuse law, which this is modeled after from our animal control officer in preparation for that meeting. And that's where I learned about what Syracuse was doing. I brought that here to keep things moving, but there was one kind of sticking point in the legislation, which is what do we do about unhoused folks with companion animals? Because this law would make it so you couldn't have your animal outside for more than your dog animal, outside for more than 2 hours in certain temperatures, certain extreme temperatures. And I was concerned, and I'm sure other members were concerned that that could be used to target people whose companion animals in our house. Our animal control officer came up with a solution to that, which is basically you can't have your animal outside in extreme weather for 2 or more hours without a human owner being with the animal. So someone who's there to assist it in those extreme temperatures. So that was the primary change from the Syracuse version to our version. And I felt like it addressed what I was concerned about. And so that's why I'm bringing it to a vote today. Basically, animal extreme situation. We didn't have something specific on this, which made it hard for our animal control officer to deal with dog owners that were leaving their dogs out, literally just right outside their houses in extreme temperatures for a long period of time.
I think my general comment on this, and maybe Councilman Platt, I think we're deep into it. I think this is an example of what can be accomplished when a legislative body works with another elected official and an internal city hall department to move an opportunity for expanding enforcement forward. And I would hope that this, as that example, can be a foundation to build on with other departments that we've not necessarily seen the same cooperative approach from.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank Karen, the VP supervisor, gave a lot of her time to assist me with this. The next step, should this pass tonight, I'm working on trying to push to make our animal control officer this officer, which would allow her the ability to follow her case from the beginning to the end, rather than having to pass it off and somebody wanting to this officer. So that's the next step to make sure animals are getting the support that they need. And the neighbors that are hearing and seeing the mistreatment of animals get to see some justice.
Any additional discussion? Okay, clerk, can you call?
Councilmember Dunn Sampson, Councilmember Fenske, aye, Councilmember Hotchkiss, Councilmember Kavanaugh, Councilmember Middleton is absent, Councilmember Murray, majority thereof, aye. Thank you, that is 5-0.
Okay, next we have introductory resolution R 2601, a resolution to accept water line easements from FRGK Realty and Hudson Street parcels considered in public works and parks. Councilmember Hodgkin.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution R 26-06. It's a resolution to accept water line easement from FRGK Realty and Hudson Street parcel.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So this is the large housing, related to large housing development on Clinton Street. The developer is asking for permission to change where the water lines go, and they are going to be responsible for building them all out. But just to fit into their overall development plan.
Any additional comments? Discussion, okay, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Radowski. Aye. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Aye. Majority Leader Adams. Aye. It is 5-0.
Okay, we'll move on to introductory resolution R 2602, considered in planning. This is a resolution to authorize an MOU with RHC for their Blue Buffers program. Council Member Hotchkiss.
This is not gonna hold over, so I won't come on. But make a motion to hold over introductory resolution 126-6-02, a resolution to authorize MOU for with RHC for Blue Buffers program.
I'll second.
Basically, this is a city getting involved with a state program to do buyouts in flood-prone areas. Right now, the planning and economic development identified areas in the first ward and east side and southeast side, different areas, I think. Yeah, it's an interesting program and also I just want to talk to the people about it first. And I have time to do that, so it's like I feel like there's a lot of experience with this.
And I think, we have received some following information from Director Close relative to our initial question in the work session, particularly how many rental residential units are potentially impacted. And I think a shared concern among council is just ensuring that there is a process in place that considers the loss of the housing stock in any decisions to move forward a buyout agreement. So I appreciate the opportunity to also kind of take a look at it. Okay, we have a motion in a second, so RL. And then notes. Thank you. R 2602 will be held over for our next regularly scheduled business meeting. Next, we have introductory resolution R 2603, a resolution to accept funding from the DA for internal camera fixtures considered in municipal and public affairs. Councilmember Madison.
I'd like to make a motion to, for R 26-03, a resolution to accept funding from DA for internal camera fixtures.
No motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So internal camera fixtures, that was literally inside the police department, for the interviews, for interrogations. These would be, if I remember right, the discussion cameras that are, like turn on when you hear noise and stuff. So they would be recording not just when an officer is doing the interview or interrogation, but also if people are talking person to person in the waiting area, and then it would be higher quality footage and sound, I presume as well. Then the current systems that there are, I understand there are cameras that are already. This would just be a system offering.
And I would just point out, in general, I am against external camera fixtures related to any community surveillance, but given that these are internal, and we would be monitoring community activities, that doesn't give me pause. I would mention in a public comment earlier about addressing flat cameras. I continue to be concerned with the expansion of the surveillance locally as well as at the county level. But again, these are very specifically internal mechanisms. Any additional discussion or comments? Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Radowski. Aye. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh. Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Aye. Majority Leader Rathbone. Aye. Thank you. It is 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have introductory resolution R 2604, a resolution to accept funding from the New York State DHS for regional canine explosive team. This is considered also a municipal and public affairs. Again, Councilmember Matavezzi.
Make a motion, for R 26-04, resolution to accept funding from EYSEHS for regional canine explosive operating, but that's what it's called.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
So, one of the keywords in there is regional, so this is, funding for our, basically, what I would refer to as bomb sniffing dogs. That we not just, have them for the city's use, but that we, assist regionally, which is, why we are getting funding, to kind of, not quite consolidated services, but that kind of an idea that, our regional approach. I mentioned during the work session on this that, council has requested the use of these in the past, and appreciative that we have it.
Any additional discussion?
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Matavezzi. Aye. Councilmember Hotchkiss. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Majority Leader Rathbone.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Next, we have introductory resolution 2605, a resolution to amend the Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Plant. IMA, considered in public works and parks. Councilmember Hutchins.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution R 2505. This is a resolution to amend release JCJST IMA.
This was suggesting their, ability to, they look at the ability to adjust the budget for the previous year by the number of days.
So is that a second? He needs a second.
Oh, wow. Yes, I'll say. And the details are missing because it seemed relatively combined, but it was, so.
Yeah, this was amending IMA to adjust the look back period, so after their financial year closes. What the cutoff is, we don't have to go back to village and city to amend their budget, so we set at 90 days after their year closes. So basically, if they had to, for some reason, make an amendment past those 90 days, then we have to go to the city and the village. We also changed the dealt with their depreciation accounting so that it reflected how they actually do their accounting in their house now.
There was one change from 2023.
Yes.
I was wondering what IMA stands for. That's intermunicipal agreement, correct?
Yes.
Any additional discussion? Motion and second. Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Matavezzi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Majority Leader Rathbone. And thank you. That is 5-0.
Okay, next we have introductory resolution R 2606, a resolution to authorize building permit fee waivers for Flint Street DRI projects. This was considered in planning as well. Councilmember Hutchins.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution number 26-06. This is a resolution to authorize fee waivers for Flint Street DRI.
Just a second.
If there's,
Brian, background call second, I'll. Anyone else want to say?
again,
Okay, there's a motion second, so the intention behind this was to, continue to stimulate, some development along the Pleasant Street corridor that's been identified with the BRI funding. By just adding no fees for building permits.
I think this, for me, this kind of development incentive, I would prefer to see reserved for very specifically projects that we know are meeting community needs and priorities in a residential context. But I understand that DRI is broad and includes additional types of projects. So I don't intend to hold it up, but as far as permit fee waivers and development incentives, generally my preference would be that we're connecting them to actual demonstrated community needs and not just the broad incentive without qualifiers.
I was worried about the overall cost of this, except that they put in. That the larger projects require third party and outside review those costs, and that still has to be covered by. The. Focus to take projects, so we're not. Exhausting our budget, third party review. So it's, so there's, I don't want to say it's mostly small, kind of larger project, but it does show some. Extra city. It's a small thing we do to. And show support for the BRI issue.
So if it's a $50 million house project, there's a lot of permit.
Well, not for the. Not for the actual building, but for the all the outside review costs, which would be the lion's share of those costs.
This also does not apply to projects where we cite for them failing to get their required permits. So if someone is doing uncommitted work and we catch them, they are not permitted.
Any additional discussion?
I was curious if Councilor Murray has any insights or thoughts about this to be more involved in the DRI project.
Not related to the.
Not really.
I mean, similar to council. Similar to council, you know, you know, to have a little bit more parameters. That big, everyone that they,
Councilor Cabinet, did you have a sense of how much this is going to cost? Or estimate, ballpark?
We did get that, we did get an approximation, and I can't remember off the top of my head.
I do not know all.
Is there interest in moving this one for additional? Information?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to hold over introductory resolution. R26 -06, a resolution authorizing fee waivers to DRI. So we're moving on the next regular scheduled business meeting agenda with hopes of getting additional context in between. Next, we have introductory, so those. We have introductory resolution R2607, a resolution to authorize, and this was expedited from our work session, a resolution to authorize agreement with INSC for Binghamton Plaza. Considered in planning, Councilmember Hutchins.
Motion to adopt introductory resolution R26-07, this is a resolution authorizing agreement with MKSK for Binghamton Plaza.
All second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
It's most covered first.
Yeah, this was covered work session. This is the firm that's gonna be doing the redevelopment planning, public outreach, strategic economic, everything for the Binghamton Plaza. It's, $150,000. This means supplemented by ESD. Most likely.
Any additional comments or discussion?
But just reiterating from the work session, that there was 15 proposals and we reviewed them. But not just reviewed them, and felt strongly about this.
Yeah, so there's 15 proposals, myself from Mayor's Office and Economic Development reviewed proposals, we did interviews and, based on the average of the scores, and KSA came out on top. But there's a lot of great applicants, and I'm confident that they will do a good job.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Husky. Aye. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Aye. Majority leader Athlon. Aye. Thank you. It's 5-0.
Okay, last item on our agenda is the introductory resolution R 2608, a resolution authorizing agreement with ESD and Empire State Development for Binghamton Plaza, considered in planning. Councilmember Hodgkin.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution R 26-08. This is the resolution to authorize an agreement with ESD for Binghamton Plaza. So the Empire State Development is providing $75,000 to help us be able to pay for the redevelopment planning that we just approved in the last. We have to accept the grant.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Husky. Aye. Councilmember Hopkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Aye. Majority leader Athlon. Aye. Thank you. It is 5-0.
Okay, that wraps up the legislation for review. Next, we have communication from council. And I'll start with District 5, Councilmember Matovetsky.
All right, Discovery Center free admission night is February 6th at 4 p.m. We mentioned, alluded to it during our work session that Councilman Rathwell and I and many other people that I'm not sure exactly who all from the city have been reviewing the plans for the who we hire on to do the study for Compton Ave. So that was exciting to start seeing the different proposals for who's going to then do the research and outreach and all that. I think we've got to see each other's emails, so we both took a strong approach at ranking the initial with our initial rankings relating to who looked like they really were going to care about resident input, stakeholder input, and we independently reviewed them and then kind of came up with the same top two. So I'm excited and hopeful. Hopefully we'll learn more soon, and I'm excited to be a part of a project like this. So okay, around on that. Ross Park Zoo is forming an advisory committee for members of the zoo. I presume people got alerts or emails, but if that's something that you would you being people watching would be really interested in, and you didn't receive an email, you could reach out to me and I can try and liaise between to see if there's still spots available, and if there's any additional requirements for joining that advisory committee. That's a cool opportunity that I noticed in my email inbox. Struggle to find words sometimes for national topics. But I'm proud of us for taking action, relating to ICE earlier rather than later. And I was pleased to see the mayor's social post in light of the most recent avoidable tragedy. But I'm hoping to see some sort of input to council that the legislation that we pass will be taken seriously, some capacity with the city. And I'm hopeful something will come about from that. I had a conversation with a mom, one of our BP officers, at the grocery store the other day, and she mentioned she saw the mayor's post and was really grateful that we made that post as a because of its impact, what's going on and its impact on the our local law enforcement and their ability to do their job, and safety and all that. So anyway, it's something that's come up. I know it's something that constituents are thinking about. And I'm not really good at talking about things, which is why I usually don't, but I felt I need to see something.
Councilman Hopkins?
No communication plan.
Councilman Kavanaugh?
I'm fine.
Councilmember Murray? Okay, I think, not necessarily updates from District 6, but I do want to be clear, we received public comment regarding whether or not Binghamton Police Department could share information with ICE from any of the cameras that are fixed or otherwise. And I do want to, so Councilmember Matavetsky referenced the legislation that we passed on December 17th at the end of last year with a resolution to explicitly prohibit the use of city funds, personnel, or resources for federal immigration purposes. And it does encompass information requests or information sharing, specifically that no city agency, including the police department, would enter into an agreement or arrangement with ICE that permits access to non-public information or facilities without specifically a judicial warrant or as required by state or federal law. I think I do want to represent, we are still awaiting a response to an agreement with the state by legal counsel regarding amendments that we submitted for review to BP's immigration violations policy. And I would, and I hear you, Councilmember Matavetsky, and been chatting with constituents. I was extremely frustrated by Mayor Cran's post this week in response, not because of the sentiment, but because I believe it represents hypocrisy on his part to not take action. What we've gotten from him are public statements during his campaign and recently, but we have not seen internal commitments to action that would actualize the enforcement of a prohibition that we make law. I don't think at this time any public statements without action, given the position of authority he is in. Many people are making public statements. Many people have deep feelings about this, but so many people are not actually in positions of authority to see any enforcement moving forward or prohibitive legislation enforced. And to Mayor Crane very specifically is, so for him to not move action forward and continue to just make statements, I believe is hypocritical and it's frustrating to me. So I would again ask, as we've asked him before, that he move to initiate the internal implementation of that prohibition as we requested. I mean, all of you were copied in on an email that I sent to him either end of December, early January, asking for that commitment, and I have yet to receive any response. Okay, With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion